Ever wondered how close we are to World War III? It's a chilling thought, isn't it? Welcome to the intricate world of the Doomsday Clock. This symbolic timepiece is not just an ordinary clock, it stands as a grim reminder of how close humanity is to causing its own destruction. Its ominous hands have been ticking away since 1947, when it was first introduced by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. The idea was to illustrate the urgency of nuclear dangers that the world was facing in the wake of World War II. The clock does not tell time in the traditional sense. Instead, it counts down to a potential global catastrophe. The closer the minute hand is to midnight, the closer we are to a disaster of our own making. Whether it's nuclear war, climate change, or emerging technologies, the Doomsday Clock gauges our proximity to self-inflicted doom. Now, here's a sobering fact. As of now, the Doomsday Clock stands at 100 seconds to midnight. This is the closest it has ever been in its 77-year history. The first time it was this close was in 1953, during the height of the Cold War, when the United States and the Soviet Union tested their first thermonuclear devices within 9 months of each other. The Doomsday Clock is not just a symbol of fear, though. It also serves as a call to action. It's a reminder that we have the power to push the hands of the clock back. Through international cooperation, scientific innovation, and responsible leadership, we can steer our course away from the brink of disaster. However, the question still looms large. Why is the clock closer to midnight than ever before? What are the current threats pushing us towards the precipice of a global catastrophe? The answers lie in the intricate web of international relations, escalating conflicts, and the relentless march of technology. The hands on the Doomsday Clock are moving closer to midnight, but what does this actually mean for us? To understand this, we'll need to delve deeper into the dynamics of our complex world. So stay tuned as we peel back the layers of this global conundrum. The world is a stage and the actors are countries, each with their own agenda and conflicts. In this geopolitical theater, the United States often finds itself in the spotlight, its international relations and foreign policies shaping the global narrative. Let's first delve into the complex tapestry of US-China relations. This relationship is a delicate dance between two of the world's economic powerhouses, a dance that often teeters on the edge of economic warfare. Trade disputes, protectionist policies, and accusations of intellectual property theft have all served to fray the ties that bind these two nations. The South China Sea, a strategic waterway claimed by China, has also been a source of tension, with the US conducting freedom of navigation operations to challenge China's claims. Then we turn our gaze to Russia, a nation with a long and storied history of conflict and cooperation with the United States. The post-Cold War era has been marked by a series of ups and downs, with recent years seeing a resurgence of Cold War-era tensions. Allegations of election interference, cyber attacks, and the annexation of Crimea have all served to stoke the flames of animosity. The Korean Peninsula, and specifically North Korea, is yet another geopolitical hotspot. The Hermit Kingdom, known for its aggressive rhetoric and nuclear ambitions, has been a thorn in the side of the international community. The US has pursued a policy of sanctions and diplomatic engagement in an effort to curb North Korea's nuclear program, but the effectiveness of this approach remains a topic of debate. Beyond these three major players, there are other potential flashpoints that could ignite further global conflict. In Eastern Europe, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine between government forces and Russian-backed separatists continues to be a source of tension between Russia and the West. The Middle East, a region fraught with conflict, also poses a significant risk. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict in particular has the potential to draw in multiple global powers and ignite a larger conflagration. But it's important to remember that these conflicts are not isolated incidents. They are interwoven threads in the fabric of our global community. A tug on one thread can send ripples throughout the entire tapestry, impacting nations far removed from the original conflict. These conflicts are not just regional issues, they have the potential to ignite a global catastrophe. The Doomsday Clock, a symbolic representation of our proximity to global disaster, is closer to midnight than ever before. As we navigate this intricate web of international relations, it's essential that we do so with caution and diplomacy, always mindful of the potential consequences. In the following scenes, we'll delve into the potential allies and enemies in a hypothetical World War III, discuss the safest countries to live in during a nuclear war, and provide guidance on preparing for the unthinkable. The goal is not to incite fear, but to foster understanding and preparedness. As the old saying goes, forewarned is forearmed. Now let's continue our journey into this sobering subject. If World War III were to break out, who would be on whose side? This is a question that, while alarming, is crucial to consider in our analysis of potential global conflict scenarios. The notion of alliances is a fascinating one. Historically, alliances have been formed and broken, often dramatically shifting the balance of power. In the event of a Third World War, we could expect a similar complex web of alliances and rivalries. Let's take a glance at some of the potential alliances. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, is a military alliance that includes the United States, Canada, and much of Europe. In the face of a global conflict, this alliance would likely stand united. Then we have the Collective Security Treaty Organization, or CSTO, led by Russia and including several other former Soviet states. This could potentially serve as a counterbalance to NATO in a worldwide conflict. China, a major global power, is somewhat of a wild card. While it has no formal military alliances, its economic ties and strategic interests could lead it to side with certain countries over others. Now let's not forget about the nuclear-armed North Korea. Its unpredictable nature and strained relationship with many nations make it a potentially dangerous player in a world conflict. Interestingly, alliances might not strictly be along military lines. Economic partnerships, shared resources, and common enemies could also dictate who sides with whom. It's also worth noting that some countries might choose to remain neutral, attempting to avoid the conflict altogether. However, it's important to remember that these are speculations based on the current global scenario. The true nature of alliances and rivalries would only become clear in the face of an actual conflict. The alliances of today might not hold true in the face of a global conflict. The world is a chessboard and the pieces are constantly moving. Let's continue to hope that this game never proceeds to the point of a Third World War. Is there any place safe in a nuclear war? This is a question that may seem grim, but it's worth considering given the current global tensions. The reality is that safety in a nuclear war is relative and depends on various factors. However, some places offer more shelter than others. The top 10 countries that are considered relatively safer in the event of a nuclear war include Switzerland, New Zealand, Australia, Iceland, Greenland, Malta, Ireland, Fiji, Mauritius, and Bhutan. These countries have been identified based on their remote locations, low conflict involvement, and strong infrastructure. Yet it's important to remember that in a nuclear war, no place is completely safe. Switching focus to the United States, let's discuss the 2015 nuclear war map from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This map indicates potential nuclear targets in the event of a war. The targets were chosen based on strategic value, such as military bases, major cities, and nuclear power plants. The idea is that these places would be the first to be targeted in a nuclear strike due to their economic, political, or military significance. However, it's not all doom and gloom. The map also shows vast areas that would be relatively safe from direct strikes, mainly because they lack high-value targets. These areas are largely rural and less populated, but in a nuclear war scenario, they could become safe havens for survivors. Keep in mind, though, that surviving a nuclear war isn't just about avoiding the initial blast. There's also the aftermath to consider, which includes nuclear fallout, a dangerous mix of radioactive particles that can spread over large areas. This is why even the places considered safe could still face significant challenges. In conclusion, while no place can guarantee absolute safety in a nuclear war, there are regions that are less likely to be directly hit. These places, combined with proper preparation and knowledge, can offer a relative sense of security in a rather insecure situation. Safety in a nuclear war is relative, but some places offer more shelter than others. Preparation is the best defense. It's a sentiment that rings true in every situation, but it holds a particularly poignant tone when we're discussing the unthinkable, a nuclear war. Let's delve into the guidelines set forth by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, on how to prepare for such an event. It's crucial to remember that while this information might be unsettling, having this knowledge at your disposal can make all the difference in an emergency. Firstly, create an emergency supply kit. This kit should include water, food, a battery or hand-crank-powered radio, a flashlight, batteries, a first aid kit, a whistle to signal for help, dust masks, plastic sheeting and duct tape for sheltering in place, moist towelettes, garbage bags, and plastic ties for personal sanitation, a wrench or pliers, local maps, and a can opener for food. Also, consider specific needs in your household, such as prescription medications, glasses, infant formula, pet food, and important family documents. Remember, the goal is to have enough supplies to last for at least 2 weeks. Next, it's essential to make a plan. Determine where your family will meet if you're separated and designate one out-of-area person as a central point of contact. Identify fallout shelters in your area or determine the best place in your home to take shelter. Now, let's talk about surviving during a nuclear explosion. If you're warned of an imminent attack, the best course of action is to get inside, and stay tuned. Going underground is best, but if that's not possible, go to the center of an upper floor. In the event of a sudden flash of bright, blinding light, don't look at it. Instead, drop and cover immediately. Stay flat until the heat and shock waves have passed. After the initial blast, protect yourself against fallout. Fallout is a mixture of radioactive particles that can cause radiation sickness. It will fall to the ground and can be easily swept up by the wind. Stay inside for at least 24 hours unless local authorities provide other instructions. Continue listening to your battery or hand crank-powered radio for updates. When it's safe to leave, do so. Finally, when moving outside, protect yourself from fallout by wearing long-sleeved shirts, long pants, gloves, and closed-toe shoes. Try to avoid fallout dust, and if you come into contact with it, brush it off before going inside. Preparation might not guarantee survival, but it significantly improves the chances. With this knowledge, you're better equipped to respond effectively in a nuclear emergency. Remember, the goal isn't to incite fear, but to promote preparedness. Because in the face of the unthinkable, being prepared is the best defense we have. How much time would we have if a nuclear warhead was launched towards us? This question, sobering as it is critical to understanding our response time in the face of a nuclear threat. Let's take Russia, for example. Given the distance, a missile from Russia could reach the United States in about 30 minutes. Now think about China. Considering the geographical distance between the United States and China, it would take a missile approximately 30 minutes as well to reach American soil. North Korea, on the other hand, would take a slightly shorter time due to its closer proximity, with their missiles reaching the United States in approximately 20 minutes. The timeframes mentioned are, of course, rough estimates. The actual time would depend on the trajectory and speed of the missile, among other factors. But these approximations give us a sense of the urgency required in response to such an event. Now, how would we know if a missile was heading our way? This is where the warning system comes into play. The United States has a sophisticated detection system in place, comprising a network of satellites, radars, and sensors that monitor for any missile launches worldwide. Once a launch is detected, an assessment is conducted to determine if it's a threat. If it is, the emergency alert system is activated, sending out warnings through television, radio, and cell phones. So what should you do if you get this alert? The immediate course of action is to seek shelter. Getting inside and staying inside, preferably in a basement or an interior room without windows, is crucial. It's also important to stay tuned to reliable news sources for updates and instructions. Remember, in a nuclear attack, every minute, every second counts. The time from detection to impact is short, and the actions taken in those minutes can be a matter of life and death. It's a grim reality to contemplate, but being prepared and knowing what to do can help save lives. Every second counts in a nuclear attack, and knowing what to do can save lives. The threat of a nuclear war is a grim reality we live with. We've journeyed through the chilling origins of the Doomsday Clock and its ominous proximity to midnight. We've navigated the complex web of international relations, understanding the fault lines that could potentially trigger World War III. We've looked into the safe havens that might offer a glimmer of hope in a nuclear war, and discussed the strategic choices behind the United States' nuclear targets. We've shed light on the stark reality of how swiftly a nuclear missile can reach us, the warning system in place, and the immediate actions we must take. And most importantly, we've underscored the importance of being prepared. Preparedness not just in terms of physical safety measures, but also in terms of our mental resilience and readiness to make crucial decisions when required. Let's hope the Doomsday Clock never strikes midnight, but if it does, we're better prepared now. Remember to like, subscribe, and stay safe. Thank you for watching.